The roguelike genre is one of the most oversaturated categories in all of gaming, and there's a simple reason for that: money. When you see an underdog like Hades end up in the Game of the Year conversation, yeah, you're gonna have some developers clamoring to make the next Hades and cash in on the big bucks. Ember Knights is not the next Hades. Technically, Hades 2 is the next Hades, but that's beside the point. Still, Ember Knights is one of the best roguelikes I've ever played, and unlike Hades or Dead Cells, I can play it in 4-player co-op. But is co-op enough to make it worth playing over other roguelikes on the market? Let's find out.
Oh, nice.
Oh
my
gosh.
gosh.
Oh, wow.
We were about to... Ooh. Let's go, dude.
I was not gonna dodge that.
Yeah, same. I was about to die. Risk it for the biscuit.
Someone else take precision.
Before we get going here, let me quickly break down Ember Knights' ease of play features. Ember Knights is available on both Switch and Steam, and it features 4-player co-op both online and local. It's fairly easy to set up a party, simply invite your friends after selecting the multiplayer option, and that's about it. In terms of shared progression, you're always playing in someone's world, so unless you're the host, you won't be making any progress towards your own campaign. However, you do retain some currency earned from runs in your friend's world like Embers, which you can use for permanent upgrades at the Ember tree. Total Embers collected also allow you to unlock weapons, so basically, even if you're playing in your friend's world, you're still getting progress towards your Ember tree and unlocking new weapons. But there are certain NPCs you have to unlock by yourself by doing runs in your own world, which is kind of a bummer. Otherwise, Ember Knights is a very polished title that makes it pretty easy to play with your friends.
Power.
Ultimate power.
Like most roguelikes, Ember Knights starts at a central hub. Here you can select your weapon, weapon mods, and choose upgrades on the Ember tree. The Ember tree is central to the plot of the game, which sees you chasing Praxis, a mad sorcerer which sucked the life out of the Ember tree. He's run off to the 4 Prime world, spreading corruption in his past, and it's your job as an Ember Knight to stop him. So you'll hop through the big portal and go room by room killing enemies until you make it to the boss and do it all over again in the next level. Like a typical roguelike though, each room will have a specific reward, so you have to choose wisely. One room might reward you with a relic selector. These are items that give you perks like bonus damage against frozen enemies. But how do you freeze enemies in the first place? Well, another kind of reward is the skill selector, which could grant you the Frost Wall skill. You have 2 slots for skills, and their cooldowns are dictated by killing a certain amount of enemies. Aside from that, you could run into a room that rewards you with a specific stat upgrade. For example, Wisdom dictates your damage with skills, while Precision is tied to your overall crit chance. I wanted to go over this stuff in detail because a central part of the gameplay loop is thinking about which rewards could benefit the party as you progress in the game. And all this really contributes to one of the best parts of the co-op, so let's get to that already. Build diversity is key to a successful roguelike, and Ember Knights has that in spades. There is a staggering amount of build diversity here, but what takes it to the next level is all the synergies you can create in co-op. Your first step towards a busted build is choosing a weapon. There are 6 weapons in the game and they each play fairly differently. They're basically like classes. Choosing the Rift Hammer, you're opting for a slower close range playstyle, but you can stun enemies and you start with more HP. Whereas selecting the Guardian Bow, you're starting with the lowest HP, but you have more range and start with 5% crit chance. So you can already tell how each weapon is nudging you towards some build options like Tanky Rift Hammer or Crit King Guardian Bow. I made those names up, but you get the idea. Like I mentioned before, as you go through a run, you'll get rewards like skills, relics, and stat upgrades. What's cool is as you find these rewards, your options are visible to the entire team as you take turns picking. This is a really nice touch as it encourages your team to weigh in on your selection. I might have the Ember Fire skill that burns enemies, so if Christian gets the option to pick up the Burning Resolve relic, I'm gonna chime in and recommend that since the perk grants him bonus crit damage against burning enemies. That could get crazy if Christian's running the Guardian bow and we fed him a lot of precision gems, further upping his crit chance to insane proportions. It's never been easier to create synergies in a game, and I'm only scratching the surface here. Aside from fire, there's also lightning, ice, and poison elements. There's even relics that grant your third weapon hit freeze or some other element, so you don't even need to have a specific skill to proc these status conditions. I could go on and on, as there's 86 relics and 17 skills in the game, so you'll just have to take my word for it, it gets pretty nuts. Even with busted builds though, this game is anything but a cakewalk. Enemies are really tough. In the later game, you'll face a lot of them at once, and the different variants require a ton of communication. You definitely want to gang up on the elites and ranged enemies, and some rooms even have crystals you have to destroy before you can even damage anyone. This complexity extends to the boss fights too. Each boss has multiple phases and telegraph moves we were calling out constantly. The later you get in the game, the harder it gets, but also the more rewarding. It's a really hype moment when one of us finds a game-changing relic, but at the same time, you're doing your best to survive and make it to the next room. All in all, it works really well in co-op. So this is a part in the review where we go over everything that didn't work in co-op. But honestly, there's not really much I can call out here. Maybe I could say the action gets so hectic at times that you don't find yourself working together as much as you're just trying to survive. I could say it would have been nice to have a support weapon option. But the only real critique I have is I would have liked more relics that buff your team, as there's really only 2 that do so. But even then, all those would be very minor nitpicks, and everything I mentioned in the prior section makes it easy to glance over them. So let's move on and wrap up this review. At the start of this review, I asked the question, is co-op enough to make this worth playing over other roguelikes on the market? After everything I've gone over, that's a resounding yes. But Ember Knights excels in other areas as well. For one, the game feels great to play. Pulling off dodges and perfect strikes are all super satisfying, which leaves the only other staple of the roguelike genre, replayability. I briefly mentioned the Ember Tree upgrades, but that's really key to the meta progression of the game. You're able to unlock a variety of upgrades like how much starting gold you get, or even the ability to reroll relics or skills, which really comes in handy. There's another currency called Ash that you keep post runs, but this one is used to mod your weapons. I won't spoil those here, so I'll just say that it adds yet another layer to the insane build diversity. So yeah, you have plenty of reasons to keep you coming back. To wrap this up, I think it's fair to say Ember Knights measures up pretty well against other roguelikes. But it's its dedication to co-op that gives it an edge and makes it one of the easiest recommendations we've made on this channel. Thanks for watching. If you want to support us, please consider subscribing or following us on our socials for more co-op content. You can also check out our merch store and check out some items listed below the description bar. And if you haven't already, join our official Discord server. You can find the links for all that down below. Thanks again. We'll catch you next time on another episode of The Co-op Bros.